This video is still about fixing twisted stitches. And now I'm looking at this part right here. I'm going to take the pin out of it so you can see it without the pin. I'm going to zoom in on that just a little bit, and you can see that right there it just doesn't look right. And it doesn't look right because, let me get a pointy here. It doesn't look right because this stitch right there is not twisted. So that makes it kind of go back, and this one lays up and it's not good. Fortunately, you can see I've got a bunch of pretty long ladders here. I'm gonna, well, when I fix this, I'm going to see if I can lessen those ladders. The interesting thing about this column is that it's twisted stitches up to here, which would be at the top, right here at the top of the ribbing. And then it goes to these two knit stitches, which are not twisted. So I need to be able to make that transition, and I'm going to do it in the same row that these two are crossed, right here. Well, actually, it's in this row. So first step, and while I'm at it, this doesn't look quite right. It doesn't. Look at that. I've got a drop stitch. So we'll come back and fix that in a minute. But right now, I'm going to take this stitch off the needle. Put the rest of the stitches back on the cable so it's easier to deal with. I'm going to use my little handy tool here to, with these, to take out the stitches. I'm going to go right to here. I think that's the row right there. This is crossed. So in order for it to be crossed, I had to have worked this row. And this row looks like where I should start the knit stitches. But if you'll notice, I started the knit stitches in these two columns back here. So I'm going to have to fix this row as well. All right, so it should be in this one. What I'm going to do to help myself when it comes to knitting the crocheting the stitches back up, I'm going to put a pin on that float there to tell me when it's time to start not twisting the stitches. I'm taking these out same way as I would if it weren't twisted stitches, although they're a little tighter. You know, I was mentioning that float. Look at how much of a float I have here. Way too much. Obviously, I am not tightening enough when I am transferring from one circular needle to the other. All right. Right down to here. There's my stitch that is not twisted. this one is. Now, although this is a really handy little tool, especially for taking things out, the hook is too big for these stitches. So this one that I'm using right now is a size 7 crochet hook. I'm going to go into the back of that stitch because I want it to twist like this. I'm going to go into the back from the right side, pull one stitch through. Now the trick is that if your crochet hook is a little too small, then sometimes it can be tricky getting it back in. So in each case, I bring it up. I'm going to go to the back, crochet up, go to the back of the stitch, crochet up, go to the back of the stitch, be careful not to split it. I think I've got it now. Or do I? Yes, I do. And look at what so I just kind of turn it around like that and make sure that it's going to cross that right leg over the left. Well, these floats are getting pulled in, but it's also making a float on the, a ladder on the other side of my stitch. Okay, is that twisted? Yep. So you can see this isn't difficult. It's just adding one more step of going into the back of the stitch in order to twist it, and checking your work as you're going along to make sure you've got it right. Now, I'm to my pin, and I think from here on, let's see how many rows it was. Up to where I was working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We won't count this one because this is the row I would be on, and I haven't done that yet. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'm going to go back and untwist this last one because it looks like the stitches in the column next to us were untwisted right here. So yes. So now I just crochet these up as I would any place because they are regular knit stitches. All right, I'm going to hold this stitch on a marker. I don't want to put it on that other needle. It would make it awkward, and I don't want to put it on let me go back and get this one again. And I don't want to put it onto onto the other end of this needle because it would just make it would be turned around and it would be awkward to deal with. I'm pulling it up enough so that I can make sure that I get my hook in there without it being twisted. Okay, I'm just going to put this on a marker here. I'll zoom this out a little ways again. All right, so now this stitch is dropped, and let's make sure about that. So here's the cross right there. And next to the cross, I should have 2 purl stitches, an increase, another purl stitch, and 2 knit stitches. There's the cross. There's, and as I said before, we know that, so this is the row right here. So there's the cross. So there's 1 purl stitch, 2 purl stitches, no increase, and no purl stitch, and then 2 knit stitches. So we've got to get an increase in here and a purl stitch. All right. Now look at this on the other side. I can see that this drop stitch is the purl stitch. See how it's coming right up out of that? Coming right up out of that column of stitches that look like knit stitches. Well, those are purls on the other side. And the best way to fix a mistake like this is to do it from the wrong side. So I'm going to take another marker. I'm going to put it on this stitch. So it doesn't go anywhere. And now I'm going to crochet up the dropped stitch. And doing it Okay, so there was 1 increase right here. That was that one. And those are the purl stitches coming from that. So now we have these purl stitches on the other side of it. These are not twisted, so I want my hook to go through the front. There's 1. 2. I want a ladder that's right in here. 2. Yeah, I didn't get that one quite without splitting it, so let's try it again. Probably would be helpful if my crochet hook was a little bit bigger, but too big and it won't go into these stitches well. There's another ladder. And another ladder. Make sure I've got all of that stitch. This is going to go onto my needle. Now let's see if I have what I'm supposed to have. there's the cross. There's 1, 2, there should be, oh, and an increase and a purl stitch. Well, you know, and then 2 knit stitches. It doesn't seem like I actually put an increase in there, but I have the right number of stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, given that, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to put this onto my working needle, these 2 stitches. And continue on. It's interesting that when I crocheted up those stitches, my ladders certainly don't look like they did before. And that may be, if you're having a real problem with ladders, that may be a solution. Let me show you something else. I'd like to tighten up this stitch, but where in the past I might tighten this one, tighten this one, tighten this one, when the stitches are crossed, we're still having to follow where the yarn is going. So this yarn is going this way, and then it's coming this way, and then it goes in this direction. So being careful about looking carefully at where your yarn is going when you're trying to move yarn along, like right here. Well, see, right here it's a lot easier because I can just, these are just regular knit stitches. But in those twisted ones, you've got to make sure that you're looking at the correct leg. All right, so those are some suggestions I have for tonight for fixing your knitting. And as I have said before, like lace and cables, this stuff can be tricky, so you might want to consider putting in lifelines.